WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net. Happy opening of the baseball season to everyone celebrating. Some hungover from the Orioles' big extra inning victory in the Trump Bombs on Monday. This guy spent his Monday with the Nationals, but he circulates from the Orioles to the Nationals to the Major League Baseball beat for ESPN. He's always in the area. We love having him on. We welcome Eddie Matz back onto the program. You can follow his journey out on Twitter at ESPN Eddie Matz. What's going on? Happy opening day and all that stuff. I know you were traipsing around Florida and Arizona getting ready, and you're really kind of covering more of the whole league than just the region here, but spent an opening day at Nats Park where, the Nationals look to me to be pretty formidable this year, right?
Yeah, they followed the script. They did what they were who we thought they were, basically, right? Harper homered. Adam Lynn's supposed to be a potent bat off the bench, hits a pinch hit bomb. Strasburg did what he was supposed to do. New closer, Blake Trinan, went 1-2-3, including Giancarlo Stanton, which is no easy task. So it pretty much played out according to plan.
Well, I'm wondering where the enthusiasm and the optimism is here this year, because I really had to sit down over the weekend and someone said, well, how many games are they going to win, the Orioles? And I said, 78, and they said, well, why are you being so pessimistic? I'm like, well, have you seen Tillman? Have you seen the bottom of the rotation? And quite frankly, I think they've had some really good fortune the last couple of years. I think Showalter's pushed some nice buttons, and we'll see what happens in the aftermath of the Toronto, game last year that we've been talking about for 6 months, right on down until we were in another tie game in extra innings at Camden Yards on opening day. But, I think with the Orioles, I'm very, very weary of the fact that they don't get on base, that they don't move runners. All of these sort of traditional baseball things, they're going to hit a bunch of home runs and they're probably not going to pitch very well. And that there's only so much shelf life for that, especially when you start overusing the bullpen late in the year.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think 78 is a little low for my taste. I got him for 83 wins. That's where I'm pegging him, which is a little bit down from last year. But I agree with you. They're flawed, and they have been flawed, right? And they managed to rise above it for a number of reasons. Maybe there's some good fortune involved. Buck Showalter certainly would seem to have something to do with it. Guys staying healthy certainly helps, but yeah, I think that it starts with the rotation. Tillman, as it was, isn't even a legit ace compared to other aces, and now they don't have him for who knows how long. And Gosman and Bundy are developing and blossoming, but there's only so much they can do given their relative lack of experience, and then you're relying on guys like Baldo Jimenez and Wade Miley, and then who knows after that, right? So
yeah, well, you would say, who's your horse? I mean, even if Tillman were there, he wouldn't be the horse. I mean, then you see Toronto come in here, and they got 5 guys. Any of those guys could wind up being some sort of a horse for them. They are as balanced as anybody, and then you see the deficiency when you see another rotation come in and say, well, I'd rather have him than him or him than him. Hell, I'd rather have all those guys for the most part.
Sure, and the bullpen is the X factor. That's what's been able to make up for the difference. But we see it year after year. They start out first half of the season like gangbusters, and then like most bullpens, they get tired second half. But so because of that bullpen, they're able to make up for the deficiency in the rotation. I'm curious to see as good as the O's pen has been and was last year. They didn't really have a reliable lefty other than Britton. You can't really count Britton because he's the closer, right? So you can't use him situationally. But Donnie Hart is intriguing to me because he was almost unhittable after he came up last year. He only threw about 20 innings, but a full year of him gives them another viable left-handed option, which makes a bullpen that was already stacked even more stacked. I'm not saying that negates the deficiency in the rotation, but it certainly helps cover it up a little bit, right? So I think that's another reason why they're able to succeed, but I still don't think it's enough to get them back to the postseason.
Eddie, it's fascinating for me because I'm an old fart, right? I mean, this is Camden Yards, 25 years. I was doing radio when Camden Yards opened. That's how long I've been doing this. And year after year, in the early days when there were 3.5 million people and there was a lot of interest in the team, which, I mean, the interest in the team, it's more about drinking now than there's like literally people who sit and watch 9 innings a night 145 times a year and are in on everything around baseball and prospects and Sabre and, all all of the level of engagement as a community here is dramatically down. And I don't let anybody tell you anything differently because, I've been measuring this thing. But the difference also was around, March 15, there was real interest in spring training because it felt like whoever you came north with, that there was a big deal. Which pitcher was going to make the team or not make the team, who that last outfielder would be, who the utility guy was going to be, what the lineup was going to be. There's not as much drama around any of that. And now they have a 10-day DL, right? So the shuttling that Buck and Duquette, I don't want to say that that they were the group leaders, but they certainly were among the leaders, and they certainly utilize it. This sort of back and forth train from Norfolk that it really isn't about 10 pitchers or 11 pitchers. It's more about 17 or 18 or 20 pitchers before it's all over with, and especially with the Orioles where you don't have horses, it takes a little of the drama out, but when nobody's 17 or 18 deep with big league arms, and I look at some franchises and they might only have 6 or 7 real major league arms. All the rest of them are sort of 4A and somewhere on the freeway back and forth, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I can be as cynical as the next guy, and I agree with you that the level of interest in general is down. I think that's across baseball, but especially in Baltimore, the sheen of the new stadium is obviously not what it was 25 years ago. And then, there's other factors involved. There is the Ravens. The Ravens are a factor. They didn't used to be a factor. The Nationals have put a huge dent in the market. That's another factor.
Lacrosse is 25 years more mature for this time
lacrosse.
of year.
And there's that. There's, I think people are still a little wigged out by the whole Freddie Gray situation. That's another thing. Last year there was, season ticket pricing didn't come out until late. There's all these factors. They're all real. I'm not, the spring training losing its sheen thing, I'm not sure I agree with that. I feel like,
from an argumentative standpoint, I'm saying nobody calls anymore or says who's going to make the team. Like, if you come north, you're here till July, and if you don't, you're not coming until July. It's a shuttle system. The pitching is now done by community on your 40-man as much as it's who's coming north on the first plane out of Sarasota,
Yeah, no doubt. And, they have to do that here in Baltimore because they don't have a choice, right? That's kind of like evolution. But it's like Darwinism right there. They've evolved that way because they have to, because they don't have, 5 starters and 7 bullpen guys that can stick the whole year. I mean, the bullpen more so than the starters, but they need to use that shuttle. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gotten to where they've gotten these last few years. So, yeah, I suppose maybe that makes it a little less dramatic. But I think part of the less drama is that, I'm 46, right? So 25 years ago, I was 21. I still wasn't a little kid. But your perspective changes. And I think that's part of it. It's just, your world becomes bigger and more things matter, whether that's more sports or your family or whatever it is. Spring training, baseball, the Orioles, whatever, it used to be everything.
The Orioles were the most important thing in my life in 1992, right? I mean,
exactly.
And I had a kid, and I had a mom, and I chased girls and all that. But, I remember being on a date the night Eric Bell was throwing the no-hitter in Minnesota, and, the girl was feeling like, a little frisky, and I said, no, guy's throwing a no-hitter. What, are you out of your mind? I never went on a second date with her, but I remember that night well because baseball was more important than that. That's what a no-hitter was worth in 1987. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But it was a smaller sports landscape. There's so many factors involved there. So I think part of it is just how we evolve as people and how the world has evolved around us. But you're right. I mean, things have changed. But I still think people get excited. I think it kind of sneaks up on you. I know for me it did because, I was down there working for spring training for some of it. And so when it becomes your job, and, people probably don't want to hear this, but no matter what your job is, in some level, when you have to do something, it becomes a little bit of a job. Certain jobs become that way more quickly than others, and I love what I do. But so you kind of get lost in it. But then all of a sudden, opening day's here, and I found myself, I don't acknowledge the Sunday opening day, by the way. Like, I know they've done a good job of seizing that opportunity between the semifinals for NCAA tournament on Saturday and the finals on Monday. And so, yes, we're staking the claim on Sunday. Great, fine. I don't acknowledge that as opening day. Monday is opening day when all the games are played and you play hooky from school.
Yeah, it's not opening day unless you have to have a dentist appointment, right?
Exactly. So I will say that despite, that sort of the sheen coming off of spring training and who's coming north, when opening day sneaks up on you and Monday comes, when I got to the park yesterday, I was geeked. I was like, this is awesome. Like that's still the same. Like, it's opening day and it's starting fresh and everybody's got a 0 ERA, and everybody's got a chance to hit 1,000, and Trey Turner doubles in the first inning, and he's on pace for 600 doubles. There's still some magic around that to me. So I'm not gonna be totally cynical there.
Eddie Matz is not cynical. He's out at ESPN. Eddie Matz on Twitter and, of course, at ESPN.com, covering the world of Major League Baseball. How do you feel about the American League East? I mean, you sort of have the Orioles pegged as a 500 team, and I sort of feel the same way. I am cynical about Tillman in general, and that makes me cynical about the Orioles, even in the in the afterglow of the wonderful walk-off victory and all that stuff as the sun was setting and the rain was coming. Everybody's hot on the Red Sox. I have not been hot on Toronto after Encarnacion. I think that they're a lessened team from where they were last October, but I think they're still pretty good. I don't want to go to sleep on the Yankees, although Tanaka didn't look too good on Sunday. He wished opening day was Monday for sure. But I think the Yankees are going to be more competitive than people think they're going to be. I think these young kids are okay.
Yeah, I think they'll be competitive. I am hot on the Red Sox. I think the Red Sox will win the division. I think they'll win the AL pennant, and I think they'll win the World Series. I have them beating the Nationals in the World Series.
Wow. Oh, you didn't waste any time on that. The Ortiz factor, getting past that kind of player, I think there's definitely, especially a guy that takes up that much oxygen in the room, that's going to, replacing that bat, we'll see. We'll see what Mitch Moreland's all about, right?
I mean, Mitch Moreland's not going to give you the bat that Ortiz will give you, but he's a good glove, and he's fine at bat. And those other guys, I mean, they are just stacked. And all those young guys are another year older, which is, they're very young. So for them to be another year older, Jackie Bradley, Mookie Betts, Xander Bogaerts, those guys are studs. And then they got Benintendi, who homers on opening day, and he's my pick for Rookie of the Year in the AL. I'm not saying he makes up for the loss of Ortiz, but it's just a stacked lineup. We'll see what happens with David Price. That could be the big difference maker there. We'll see how healthy he is. They're dealing with the same thing that people in Baltimore are with Tillman, with their ace, quote unquote. But yeah, I think despite the loss of Ortiz, I think they have what it takes to go the distance.
I think I have too many people in my life that are Red Sox fans because everybody was making the Benintendi casting for the statue out on Yawkey Way Monday already, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not going all in on him. Yeah, but he's clearly a very good player, and he's going to be a good addition to what's already a really good lineup. The bullpen has some question marks, and I feel like these last couple of years they've had trouble staying healthy back there. If Kimbrel stays healthy, he's one of the better closers in the game. Tyler Thornburg's already gone on the DL, I think, right? He's the guy they picked up from the Brewers. He was supposed to be their setup guy, so they may have some bullpen issues, but who doesn't have bullpen issues? So I still like them to win the division. I agree with you that the Yankees will be better than expected. I think the Rays, as always, I think will surprise some people here and there. I still think the Blue Jays, despite losing Encarnacion, will be reckoned with. I think I have them getting a wild card. But to me, it's the Red Sox division and the league to lose.
Nationals, make your case for them. Go ahead. I mean, everybody's hot for the Cubs. Some people are hot for the Dodgers, even the Giants. You're hot for the Nationals, huh?
Yeah, I mean, they're not the only good team in the game. I think they'll win the division. Even if the Mets rotation stays healthy, I still see the Nationals being a better team, and I also don't see the Mets rotation staying healthy. I think there's this wishful thinking that, they'll magically all five of those guys are going to be good now. It's not going to happen. Nobody's rotation stays healthy. And I think Washington's offense has more firepower than the Mets do. The rest of the division is improved, but I still think the Nationals win that division. In the Central, I think the Cubs will win it. I just think it's hard to do it, back to back, have everything go the right way and go all the way. In the West, I think I had the Dodgers winning that, with the Giants winning a wild card spot. So there's some other good teams there. I just think the Nationals, with the addition of Adam Eaton, he gives them a good defensive outfielder and another spark plug up top. Trey Turner, I think, is the realest of real deals. Harper can't be, and he can't be any worse than he was last year. And spring training was any indication. He seems like whatever was bothering him last year, which I think was probably health related mostly. I think there was some psychological stuff going on too. But he seems like he's back to being his 2015 self. He homered on opening day. I think Murphy regresses a little bit, but I still think he'll hit 300. So I think, and their rotation is, the top three of their rotation with Scherzer and Strasburg and Roark, is as good as any in baseball. I think people doubt the bullpen, but their bullpen was second in the National League last year, and I think it should be just as good, if not a little bit better this year. So I think they have what it takes. I don't think they'll win the World Series, but I think they'll get there.
Yeah, I hate the Nationals, but I got to say, if they ever win the World Series before the Orioles do, it would sort of treat the old man right here, and we're involved in this whole Masson squabble over $400 million. Both of these organizations have these $400 million special players in Harper and in Machado that over the next 2 years, this story plays itself out for both groups of these fan bases, right? To say, are you going to sign your special player, or are you going to let him go play for the Phillies or the Mets or the Yankees or the Dodgers or whatever, right?
Yeah, it'll be interesting theater. I don't think Harper will stay. It's not to say the Nationals won't want to sign him. I in my mind, he wants that big stage. Like, there's a reason that homer on opening day, he's played in 5 opening days in his career, and he's homered 5 times. That guy loves the stage, and he grew up a Yankees fan. There's a theory that he wears number 34 because he knew that, he grew up idolizing Mickey Mantle. And so Mickey Mantle wore 7. So he knew that if someday he was going to be in New York, he would never be able to wear 7. So why start with 7? So let's go with 34, which is 3 plus 4, which is 7. So to me,
I didn't know that story. Eddie, you teach me things.
Yeah, I don't know if it's true, but that's kind of like the urban myth, right?
Well, go ask him.
Yeah. Hey, buddy. So I think whether he'll go to New York or not remains to be seen, but I just can't see the Nationals retaining him. I think they're going to make an offer. I think other people are going to make bigger offers. And even if it's the same offer, I'm not sure that he doesn't go elsewhere, just because I think he loves that big stage. As far as Machado, I see him more likely to stay where he is. Again, the Orioles will have to pony up. Remains to be seen if they'll do that. But I feel like they've both said it. They both kind of read the lines and said the words of, not in these words, but saying like, sure, I'm open to the idea of staying and I'd like to stay. I happen to believe Machado more when he says it than I believe Harper when he says it.
He is ESPN Eddie Matzat on Twitter, and you can follow him at ESPN as well, covering the grand game of baseball. Dusty Baker down there. It's amazing how that thing's turned around in 18 months, from Papelbon and choking the snot-nosed kid, and here we problems, and manager losing control, and Matt Williams. All that's ancient history, right? But it's all the same cast of characters for the most part as far as the players. Dusty is the straw that stirs that drink, right? He runs a loose ship down there, but kind of tightly, right?
Yeah, I think he's a player's manager. Guys enjoy playing for him. He kind of lets the Jason Worths, the veterans like that, kind of do their thing in the clubhouse, and he kind of deputizes them to do, that's one of the reasons Jason Worth has this huge contract, right, is to do that kind of stuff and set an example and be a leader. So, yeah, he just kind of keeps loose reins. If you cross him or if you get on his wrong side, he's got a little nasty in him. We don't usually see it, when you're watching the post-game press conference on Masson, but it's there. I've seen it every now and then. But, yeah, he's done a great job. He's certainly a world of difference from Matt Williams, who just, not Matt Williams' fault. He just didn't have the experience. He probably should have never gotten hired for the job. Dusty has the opposite of that. He's in his 22nd season now. So, yeah, a lot of the characters are the same, but, like I said, Trey Turner is different. And I think you said the straw that stirs the drink. Turner is the guy that stirs the drink. Like, I could see him making a run at MVP this year. Adam Eaton is new, so he's a grinder also. The rotation's pretty much the same. But the bullpen's changed, right? You mentioned Papelbon. That didn't work out. That's, for all their success with the rotation, they always seem to neglect the bullpen, and especially the back end of the bullpen. They try and trade for guys at the deadline, and it never works out.
Oh, I watch them lose every October because of that. It's delicious.
Yeah, so who knows what will happen this year. They got now Blake Trinan is the closer, and a lot of people think, he's too nice to be the closer, and he is. He's like the nicest guy you will ever meet. But, anyone who's ever talked to Zach Britton, he's a pretty nice guy too. And it's funny because Trinan and Britton are very similar. They both are power sinker guys, former starters, super nice guys. One's lefty, one's righty. But I could very easily envision Trinan doing a good job at the closer position and evolving into somebody like Britton. But people sleep on that bullpen, so who knows? He might work out, he might not. They might end up making a trade in July for a closer, or they've got this kid Coda Glover who's he's like Charlie Sheen in Major League. He's straight out of Central Casting for Major League closer. He's just he walks it, he talks it, he looks like it. So he could end up being the guy by the end of the season. So who knows? It'll be interesting to watch.
Wild thing, you make my heart sing. Cubs, you're not high on the Cubs, huh? Or are you high enough on division? It feels like they had nowhere to go but backwards. But then you look at the players and say, there's about 5 of these guys that are probably ascending right now, right?
Sure. No, I think the Cubs are obviously a really good team. Not much has changed, but I just think it's hard to do it again. Who's to say that Chris Bryant doesn't, get hurt and miss 80 games, or Ben Zobrist just falls off a cliff in his mid to late 30s and can't do it anymore, or things happen. So
things happened last year, like Schwarber. Things went wrong for them last year as much as everything went right in the end.
Sure, but so Schwarber, though, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Schwarber was like really the only major injury to an offensive player, right?
Everybody else looked like they got 600 at-bats, right?
Yeah. So, with the exception of Schwarber, and that happened right at the beginning, so they were able to deal with it. It's kind of scary that, this potent bat like Schwarber goes down and then they still, roll to 1,000 wins like they did. I just think it's hard to repeat it. Same thing with the pitching staff. Who knows what's going to happen with those guys? I just think to say, oh, yeah, they're going to win 100 games again, they're going to steamroll to the World Series, to the World Championship again. I don't think it's going to happen. Part of it's, I don't know. I just don't see it happening again. I'm not saying they're not good. I think they'll run away with the Central, and I think they'll advance deep into the playoffs. I just don't think they're going to win it.
Hey, man, always great to visit with you. We're going to be following you out at ESPN Eddie Matz as well as out at ESPN.com. Happy traveling around. Did you make it to a bunch of the ballparks out in Cactus? Isn't it wonderful, spring training baseball out in Arizona? I mean, everyone should do that, right?
Oh, my God, those parks out there, they're not all great, but the best ones out there bury the best ones in Florida. They're just, I don't know if you've ever been to Salt River.
It's my favorite. Yeah, I love that place.
Oh, my goodness. That's where the Rockies and I'm drawing a blank.
Mariners, isn't it? No, not Mariners or Peoria. It's Rockies and the Diamondbacks. It's the home
Rockies
teams.
And Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
It's everything you want in a spring training stadium. It's got the grassy berm in the outfield. You can see some cactus, so you know where you are. It is just fantastic.
I love Scottsdale. I love it over at Camelback Ranch. I went down to the new Cubs place. I used to go to Hohokam, but I went down to Sloan. They've done a nice job down there. Dude, I expected it to be a major pain in the ass. 23,000 people for spring training on a Sunday morning, and kids and this and that. It was like free parking, and it was a beautiful walk. It was 78 degrees, and it was full, but it wasn't like it wasn't like traffic. You know what I mean? It was a positive experience. And I think that's all you can ask for when you're on vacation, right? Who wants to sit in traffic on vacation?
Yeah, no, certainly not. I have not been to that park, but I'll have to put it on my list next time I go out.
Well, there'll be plenty of people there. It's the Cubs. You know how that rolls. Look for the blue and head that way. Eddie, good to have you on, man. Happy travels to you. We'll check in again before the season's over. Thanks a lot.
All right, Nestor. Take care.
You got it. Eddie Matz, ESPN Eddie Matz on Twitter, as well as out at ESPN.com. You can find me out in the Buy a Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device. Just download the TuneIn Radio app. We do come in crystal clear. Talking baseball this week. I'm getting some football, certainly with the Liars luncheon this week and the draft coming up in a couple of weeks. And, of course, hockey and basketball and the Masters. Plenty of stuff going on around here. It'll all be in the morning newspaper at 7 a.m. each and every morning. That is all brought to you by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. Comes directly to your email inbox. You'll dig it. Sign up for it. It's a pretty good thing. Our WNST tech service is the best thing we do here. That's for breaking news. You'll always be in the loop for everything that happens first. It's all brought to you by Coons Ford at Security Boulevard. And Dennis Colatzos will be here on Thursday, driving you home, getting you ready for Masters weekend and some fun as well. We got better weather this week. Opening day, got a victory. Back out at the ballpark. Beer's cold. Everybody's happy. Light City. I didn't mention Light City all week. Love Light City. I live downtown. It's a beautiful thing. Way to go. Way to go, Light City. The London trip, speaking of lights and cities, is on sale. We have a $100 off discount. If you just email me, nasty at WNST.net, I'll make sure we take care of that for you. Hopefully getting Green Bay, Nashville, Minnesota, and wherever the Raiders play on sale when the schedule comes out 2 weeks from now. If you've been on our trips, 18,000 people now have been on WNST road trips. We're looking forward to taking even more this year. Going to get very, very hearty again with our Raven trips this year. So please join us. I am Nasty at WNST.net. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, and streaming live on our Facebook and our YouTube WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.